Coach, can you just open up today, first practice, sprinkling in of veterans and new players? How did the first day of fall go?
Yeah, you do this long enough, and you understand maybe what to put value in on day one and what not so much. Without any pads on, one of the key foundations of our program is physicality. So there's not a whole lot of physicality going on out there. But I told the team, you're not going to win a job on day one, but you can certainly make an impression, one way or the other, right? And it's about choosing to give maximum effort on every play. And so yeah, that's what I saw. I saw what I normally see, but in a good way. Having to correct a few mistakes here and there was very well received by the players in terms of, I think at times, other seasons, there would have been some side talk and palms up and excuses made, and it was, hey, the old man's right, let's get our crap together and let's get to work. So that felt really good, and the biggest disappointment, as usually day ones, as hard as we train them in the summer, they're out there an hour and 15 minutes, max, and to go out there with helmet and, some gear on and, run some of our 7,000-8,000 yards in 2.5 hours at 107 heat index. That's going to take its toll on some bodies, and as hard as you train, you just can't simulate that throughout the course of the summer. You'll just break your team down. So as to be expected, but again, I think the biggest positive and difference may be just the way that they reacted to being corrected on some of the things that weren't to our standards.
Questions?
Hey, Tom.
Hey, bud.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Tom. That makes it so easy.
So you've done this 3 times now with Division I programs as a head coach. What is the biggest difference going into year 2 in a program like that, in these programs, as opposed to your first season?
Yeah, I mean, you're drinking out of a fire hose in year 1. You're just trying like heck to even be somewhat respectable, getting out there, and you're kind of, without a signing class or, time to really kind of get your feet under you, you kind of, your roster is kind of what it is that first year. And so you asked what the differences are. Like, I mean, what's the difference between night and day and black and white? I mean, it's just so much more mature. I think competition has helped that. I mean, we got a bunch of guys, even, guys we brought in as transfers, big name guys, if you will, like they're looking over their shoulder. And that is a really, really good thing to have around a team is competition. I don't know that we, last year's team had enough guys pushing the starters. And then just, as I've said before, we upgraded the talent, but we also upgraded the people too. And it just, they want to be coached hard. They want to be held accountable. They want all of these things. You're not forcing it on most of them. And guys that don't stick out like a sore thumb, where in previous years, I think guys that aren't bought in, guys that want to do things their own way, had places to run and hide, and we call it circle bitching, and those circles are real big. And now I don't think, there's no circles to run to anymore. And so, because the majority of our team is bought into the way we're doing things, and it's very refreshing, very refreshing.
Coach, one more from me. If you returned all but one, and that one was with the program last year as far as coaching staff, how did that impact today's practice?
Like you wouldn't believe. And the first person to thank is Brian White and our administration for giving us the support to have a first-class staff. You know, I would put our staff against most in America, and we don't pay what most of America, or what some in America pay. So to have only one guy leave and to be able to then, even at that point, then configure the staff probably a little bit better. You know, we had 3 secondary coaches last year, which was a bit much for the front, for Coach Majit to handle. And so, yeah, for Coach Sabini to be in the building, know the defense, understand it. And then I was talking to my chief of staff, Matt, last night about, like, I feel like I'm missing something. Like, what am I missing? Like, why does this feel so, like, you mean I'm just going home at 6 o'clock the day before the first practice? Like, what did I forget? And he's like, Coach, it's year 2. Like, you know, like, we kind of know the routine, and we're never going to take our foot off the gas by any stretch, but there's a sense of familiarity that breeds a peace of mind, you know, and I think you see it the most with the players, you know, that same system, I mean, I can't tell you how many QBs I've seen, or even transfer QBs over the year, you know, 5 coordinators in 5 years, or whatever, you know, 3 position coaches in 4 years. It's like, how do you master anything, you know? And for us to be able to turn not only the same system, but as you said, the same coaches, you know, 90% of the staff is the exact same, has allowed us probably to go a little bit faster, you know, with some of these new guys.
To piggyback off that too, it's an era which we spoke about in the spring. Rosters are going to turn over now more and more than ever. The coaching continuity, is that more important with the roster of people?
Yeah, and I think because where it's going to play is because the guys that stay matter that much more, right? Because you're going to always have to have a group of guys that have been around for 2, 3, 4 years, that know the system, that know the way we do things globally, you know, as a program, that are always going to be the foundation of your program. So with it turning over, yeah, close to 50% every year, look out next year. Where do you, I mean, now I don't know if enough people are writing about this, but when Alabama and Ohio State and USC get 20 more scholarships, and Florida State and Florida and Miami get 20 more scholarships, you know, we got to find a way to keep our great players too, and have that nucleus of guys that the point is they're probably not going to sign 20 more high school kids. Those schools, they've got a free agent waiver wire now every 6 months that can be pretty appealing when your roster size goes up by 20% or 30%. But so yeah, we've got to take care of the guys that are here and make sure that we stave that mass exodus, especially this year. But in years to come, if you're competitive with the money that they have the ability to make, they're playing, they're contributing, and they're winning, and believe in the future of winning, then, you know, all that taken care of, and you know, making sure we keep the good players around, it kind of takes care of itself. So it is, it's a little nerve-wracking, but I think if you focus on the guys that you know, are going to be here for 2, 3 years, because your depth too is, you know, if I'm a senior and my coach is honest with me and I'm a 2 coming out of spring ball, you know what, I'm probably going to go find some place for my last year where I can be a 1, you know, and so your depth just by default gets younger and younger too. And so we've got to do a great job in high school recruiting, then we've got to do a great job of retaining our players on all fronts, whether it be salary, whether it be experience, or winning, you know.
And so with the wide receiver position this season, we talked about this back at AAC Media Days, tons of depth there, but what are you kind of looking for over the next couple of weeks to kind of help decide who's going to be your X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, we're going to miss LaJonte. You don't have the leading receiver in the country who commanded what he commanded on the open market, and not feel that. But I don't think we're going to feel it maybe where others do. I think that room, we got enough good. We'll find 112 receptions and 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. Like, we'll find that in different pieces. What I'm looking for is everybody in America that had any idea about football knew when the game was on the line, when it's third quarter, when it's a red zone, we're throwing the ball to number one. He knew it, quarterback knew it, the defense knew it, my grandma in the stands knew it. And so there's a comfort as a coach, as a play caller, as a quarterback, knowing that this guy's better than anybody else on the field. And when it comes to you know what cutting time, think players, not plays. And so we got to find that player that when it's that time of the game, who are we going to throw the ball to? Who is Coach Fry going, where's that spot on his call sheet that says get the ball to so-and-so? And because the production overall, we'll be okay. Never haven't been when having replacing, big numbered receivers, if you will. It's the crunch time moment. So we got to have a guy that commands the ball, not just with his words, but with his play too.
And you mentioned that, transfers looking over their shoulders at all. With the amount of receivers you brought in, is there any worry that the guys who aren't the starters day one are going to have an issue with their role at all?
No, for a couple of reasons. One, we were very honest in recruiting. They knew that the job was wide open, that, we had some guys leave, one major one leave, which opened the door for a lot of catches, right? So we were honest with them from the jump, and then I just, that position, when you're deep enough, should be rotating. You should play 6 to 7 guys throughout the course of a game. So I think there's enough reps to go around when there's not a huge drop off from receiver 1 to receiver 2, if you will. So yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Coach, you often hear coaches use the term the offense won the day or the defense won the day. I know you said that there's only a certain amount you can take away when you're only in helmets, but in your opinion, who won the day today?
I don't know. I mean, until, we keep score, we had good moments and regrettable moments on both sides of the ball, it's just to say, I may not be able to come to work tomorrow. The kids may, tar and feather me or whatever, however it goes, because there ain't no winning in shorts and helmets. You compete against yourself in days like that. So my hope is that each player won against his own best self. When we put the pads on and we're tackling and all that, we'll keep score a little bit more. But right now it's about competing against yourself.
Coach, something that's really impressive with this team and with your staff is the Power 5, now Power 4, experience throughout the building. Being able to pull dudes from SEC and Big Ten and ACC from the portal, and now that they're in the American. Can you talk about how that has really shaped this team going into this year?
Yeah, one, I think, when you go to East Lansing, it won't be as big of a eye-opener, for most of the team, certainly not for the staff, so that certainly helps. But I think it goes back to more what Katrina said in terms about the staff continuity. It's not maybe necessarily where these coaches came from, or it's the players they've produced, the players they've recruited, the offenses and defenses that they've produced, the quality of young men that they've produced, and so I do think, you know, you got a guy like Ed Warner that's coached, I don't know how many first rounders and how many total draft picks. You know, he's in a different stage in his career, but the man didn't forget how to coach, right? And, you know, Joey Garasio, even our strength coach, has won a national championship as a player with Kalen DeBoer up in South Dakota. So I think it's less about P4 or the logo on the hat for a coach. It's more about the pelts on the wall. Did you win? Because it's all relative, right? Like, if we played 12 weeks in the SEC, probably not going to do real well, no matter how good a coach we are, you know. But we don't have to go 8-0 in the SEC. We got to go 8-0 in the American, you know. And so we've got to be better than those players or than those teams. And I think for the most part, from a player standpoint, you know, we're getting as close as we've ever been to being competitive in that realm, and I would argue we've already been there from a coaching standpoint.
Edge slash defensive end is another position that you guys brought in a bunch of transfers. Was it kind of a focal point to increase the pass rush heading into the season? And it's only been one practice here so far, but you feel like that's something that's improved?
You can tell a little bit on pass. You can tell, you know, if a guy jumps off the ball or not, you know, the first few steps. Yeah, Chisholm certainly displayed that in the spring. It's not, you know, Marlowe's still not quite full, but he will be, and he looks great going through drills. Salvati was a guy that jumped off the ball today. So we've got some dudes that got some twitch off the ball that we didn't have last year at that position. And it's, I mean, Chisholm power clean like 395, you know, I mean, he'll look at you and go, "Is that good, coach?" Like, yeah, Chiz, that's really good. You know, like, so I'm excited to watch him, you know, and Salvati, you know, those new guys, and you know, I feel a lot better about that position than we have in the past.
Coach, you talked about retaining players and selling that future of winning. When you're early in your tenure, still building into a program, or within the context of a single season, you know, not having any games played yet, especially for the new coming guys. How do you sell that future of winning so early on, or are you even selling that this early?
No, I think you do. I think young men, recruits are really smart, right? And so they do the same math that I did when looking at jobs, right? Does it have facilities? You know, check. Does it have a local recruiting base for a player? Why would that be important? Can these guys go put players around me? Like, ain't nobody won this game 1-on-11, right? Can these coaches, you know, put players around me? Do I like living there, right? And can I win? And that's the one that you got to sell, right? But I think that sell comes in the math that I talked. Well, if they have this, they have this, they have this, and now you put Coach Herman and his staff with their pelts on the wall into that mix. I think that is the sell, similar like to me and my wife, you know, hey, you know, with the right guys, you know, this has the ingredients, if stirred and cooked right, you know, that has the makings of a championship. And I think recruits these days are hip to that, you know, they understand that. And being in the American was a huge step, especially with the 12-team playoff coming right on the heels of our entrance into that conference, because again, you win this conference, you're going to the playoffs. And unlike any conference in the country, every year there's going to be probably about 10 that legitimately can go into this season, depending on schedule and quarterback and things like that. Like, you got a chance to win the damn thing, and we're in that. And so that sell, like I said, as long as we can stay competitive on the collective front and rev share front and all that, then there's no reason for a young man not to want to come here and play ball here.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks,
Thank you.
guys.